Welcome to Saturday's Warrior and another edition of our Saturday's Night Live as we go live to react to the BYU game that we just watched, which tonight was BYU hosting West Virginia. And this will forever go down as the Fous game, at least one of the Fous games, but Fous game of the season. It was just a complete flip of what we've seen from BYU all season. And it was about time we see Fous get just completely unleashed and just demolish West Virginia almost single-handedly, it feels like. And it was so much fun to watch. You love Fous, you love everything he's done with the program, and love to be able to watch him have a game like that. So anyway, we're going to be talking about the game, breaking down a little bit and discussing and what the rest of the season looks like. So please jump in the comments. I want to hear from you and discuss your thoughts on the game, on Fous, and on the rest of BYU's schedule and how things are shaping up for the postseason. But as we get started, we would appreciate if you gave us a like and subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And all right, so let's just get into it. We've already got a comment here from 1-2, our faithful viewer here, joining us saying, Fous ball, double. They had no answer. I just wish he got the ball more. Yeah. I'm almost surprised it took as long as it did to get to him. I mean, I guess they started going to him as soon as he came in with those subs, but anybody who was, watching on ESPN and wasn't, which I guess anybody, but that wasn't listening to the radio, and they took a while to cut over. I saw that the score was 4-2, and I was like, okay, I didn't miss much. And then the game finally switched over, and it was almost 5 minutes into the game. I was like, what has been going on? And I started getting a little nervous at that point, and knowing that if BYU wasn't able to figure things out offensively and West Virginia was able to really clamp down and keep things close throughout the game, it was going to be a close one. And it looked like it was going to be for even most of the first half, but then the second half was a completely different story. And they just kept going back to Fous. And again, you're right. They took him out for a little bit, and it was, I guess to start the half, and you had Keita in, and because he's a starter, started the half and then went out with a foul. But really, Fous was the guy you wanted in anyway. Keita still brings a lot of energy. He had the great cut and dunk, but Fous, man, just over and over again, and just every time you just drop it into him. And like you said, there's no answer. It was tons of fun to watch. And what a fan favorite he is. So, all right. So here we got a couple more comments. Talmadge Hokinson says, it was great to see BYU win a dominant game, even when the three is not falling. Incredible coaching by KY. Absolutely. And I think, I believe they said that on the broadcast, but I'm glad that BYU had this game and, ran into one of those moments when, okay, things aren't going our way. What's plan B? And they figured it out, and that it worked. And, there's the stretches in a lot of games where they'll go to Fous for, 3 or 4 possessions in a row, kind of see what happens, and things start opening up for the team. The opponent will make some sort of adjustment, and then the threes start opening up for BYU, and it kind of helps get the offense going, helps create some more spacing, and then maybe they don't go back to Fous, at least not consistently for the rest of the game. And so for tonight, for just to go back to him, and really just no answer at all. It was just so much fun. And I know threes are a lot of fun to watch and slam dunks, but watching him work down low with his body is, just bruising down there is just so much fun. So, and Talmadge also says, shout out to Yegor for an awesome night. Yeah. How many did he end up with? That was, it's good to see him get his shot going. I hope that he doesn't get a little overconfident yet. 15 points though. Only 3 assists, but what was his turnover? Just one turnover. And so, yeah, it was a good game for him. And he wasn't trying to do too much, which is what I think the problem is sometimes with him. And the threes that he took, well, the 2 that he hit were in the flow of the offense. And too often he is just jacking up threes that, for me, I don't feel like are in the flow of the offense. And that's when he struggles. But I think if the ball's moving and you got an open shot, take it, but don't just kind of dribble and try to get your own shot that way. I like to see him go downhill. So yeah, absolutely. Great to see Yegor doing it as well. And Jack says, any word on catching? Oh, that is a good question. I have not seen anything yet. So I'll be on here chatting, but if anyone catches wind, if something comes out while we're on here, please post in the comments, because no, I have not heard anything. And that looked pretty gnarly to me. So I have no idea what's happening there, and it's too bad. Hopefully he's healthy and be able to come back and play, and hopefully nothing serious happened there. I mean, I wasn't surprised that we didn't see him again, especially once BYU pulled away. There's really no need, but he hadn't done a lot. He wasn't in for very much time. Let's look. I mean, almost no stats, but yeah, I felt like he was trying to make some hustle plays in there, and there was actually one time Dallin Hall missed him. Dallin Hall was kind of at the key, posted up, and was looking for a cutter, and Catchings made a great cut, but Dallin kind of turned the other way as Catchings went through, and so they didn't find him. But so I felt like he was out there making good effort. So yeah, hopefully he's healthy and can make it back. All right, Carl Thorpe. Hey, thanks for joining us. It's always good to have people I know joining the show and chiming in. So saying total beatdown tonight, West Virginia out of their depth. Nice not to just rely on 3-ball. Yeah, they did look out of their depth. And West Virginia, I think, is a good team. Actually, I want to say I'll come back to that real quick. Just on Catchings, 1-2 says Catchings was sitting on the bench with the team in the second half in uniform. So I don't think it's anything serious. Okay, I didn't know he was back on the bench. Didn't see that. So that is a good sign that he was back there. Again, I'm not surprised they didn't put him back in. There would have been no need to do that. So, but I want to pull up here. Sorry, I should have had this queued up here. This screen here, but got some tweets because it was very interesting, because West Virginia, going back to this being a beatdown, I mean, West Virginia was out of their depth. They just didn't have the scoring, and the defense worked, I think, pretty well. They were able to get BYU uncomfortable some things, and kept the game close. And it was definitely a West Virginia style game in the first half. But Robbie McComb says BYU is the first team in 18 Big 12 games to score over 75 points on West Virginia, and did it with a 25-point first half. So I think that's pretty incredible. I did not see BYU sniffing anywhere near 80 points after that first half. So way to get the offense going and to come alive. And again, they just kept going back to what works and not having to rely on the 3-ball. It was nice to see some actually fall, let those guys, some guys get some confidence back with it. But yeah, I think BYU's found a recipe for success when that's happening. Because you think about it, what did they do when in the tournament last year when Duquesne, against Duquesne, and BYU wasn't able to hit any threes, and they were really slow to adjust and do something else. And Fous was on the team, that answer is there. So I don't know schematically if Kevin Young's doing things a little bit differently to help open up Fous a little bit more. But truthfully, I just don't think West Virginia had anyone that could could guard him at all, and they weren't willing to double team him. Sometimes, I mean, I've seen Fous triple teamed and still score sometimes, but they were not willing to double team him, and so again, it continued to slow down the 3-point shots. But I mean, just time and again, he was just working it down low. So a lot of fun to watch. Carl also says, this is the first game I've watched where I saw Yegor play and thought, okay, there is something there. Previously, didn't really get the hype. No, he definitely has moments that are a little bit head scratching, but he's young, and I've seen a lot of great plays from Yegor. I like what he brings. It's just all too often he can, kind of counterbalance that with some other plays, some silly turnovers and things. But yeah, I think because like I said, he was kind of playing within the offense a little more, wasn't trying to force things. But there's certain things that you can't teach, and I think that's what NBA is drafting on. So they're not just, I think, looking at performance and everything that you've done, but he's got great size, but then the vision, you can't teach that, and that's something that as those other things come along and he develops, I don't know. That's my understanding of it, and it makes sense because some of those passes he makes, like the Keba Keita, which was a great cut, he just sees things. It's just when he starts forcing it, that's the issue, because he thinks he can force, he can make anything happen. So anyway, got BYU football saying West Virginia is very good defensively. They really are. I mean, we saw it in the first half, and that's crazy. To the point of this tweet is I didn't realize that nobody else had scored that much against them in Big 12 play, and there are some other pretty good defensive teams. So pretty good. Pretty good for, especially considering how that first half went. A couple other things. Jerem Jordan said BYU up 20 on 2 made threes, had to figure out a different way to win. Valuable lesson in March. Yeah, and that's what we're saying. Like BYU at some point is going to run into a game when the threes aren't falling, and now they've figured out, and maybe they've already known, and it's just that they haven't run into it often. But it's nice to see them, figure that out in a game and experienced that already. Jake Hatch, kind of a change of subject here, says that BYU signee AJ Debonta, we all saw him. Yep, we know he was there. And 2026 Utah Prep recruit Anthony Falesi are hanging out at the BYU student section currently. And so I didn't realize that Anthony Falesi was also there. I think I'm saying that right. I've seen his name bounce around on Twitter. I'm not super plugged into the recruits, especially 2026 recruits, because that's the following season. So anyway, but that's pretty awesome to have him there hanging out with Debonta, because Debonta, I loved seeing him get into it with the rock, running around. Like, he was cheering for the game, and calling and one and things, and he was really getting into it. So I love how into it he was, and that would be hard to be sitting there next to AJ Debonta and not be getting hyped up about that. So pretty awesome that he's coming in with such such commitment. He's all in on BYU, so I love seeing that. All right, so let's take a few more comments here and keep moving. So Jack says, love your content, brother. Keep them coming. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate you coming on and commenting and joining us for this. So thank you. And Carl says, Iowa State game will be very telling on Tuesday. Can we play with the big boys? Yeah, so Iowa State, about that one, and they are, I want to pull up what they did, because this is obviously, as we talked about it in the last one, I mean, they are basically tied with BYU. This is basically going to determine who gets that 4 seed and that double bye in the Big 12 tournament. But Iowa State they did struggle. They lost some games, but they were not completely healthy. And from what I understand is they got all their players back, that they are in good shape. And let's see. So they played Arizona, who is a very good team, and BYU went down to the wire with, and they they beat them. They handed it to them, and they're back and they are rolling. The thing is, BYU also rolling. So um, I'm kind of curious to see, how this game goes and how both teams respond. In some ways, Iowa State winning big, I feel like is almost a good thing because maybe they're feeling themselves. Whereas, you know, if had they lost this game, they would have been a little bit more desperate. And so I don't know, that's trying to read maybe too much into the psychology of the thing. But I think on the other hand, they realize, that they're clicking right now and probably feeling pretty good about that too. So I don't know, but it should make for a really fun game. Like I said, there were two really fun games last year between these two. So it'll be awesome to see them go at it again. Really would like BYU to win. Iowa State, I never had any sort of issues with until both times BYU was trying to get into the Big 12, that their student body threw a big fit and wrote statements out against BYU. So now for me, it gives me a little edge rooting against them. Like to see BYU get the better of them, but even if they play, or even if BYU wins, or regardless, really, most likely, and this is from Jason Shear, our friend with the Arizona Wildcats, is this if the Big 12 tournament were held today, this is what the seeding would look like. And so just to get an idea, I mean, whether BYU is the 4 or the 5, Iowa State or BYU, I mean, getting between Cincy and Oklahoma State, obviously you got to win between one of them first, so there's no guarantee of that. But even if BYU wins or even BYU gets a higher seed, it's very likely that they end up playing Iowa State in this next round anyway. So it would be a repeat of this game, which is kind of fun for playing a game with high stakes at the end of the season, and then, pretty quick turnaround and into the tournament, face each other again. Should make for some pretty good viewing there. And I don't know how well you can see that on the screen. Sorry about that, but it's actually, if I close out of it, you can see a little bit better. But yeah, so BYU would be lined up to play Iowa State, regardless, either way, most likely in that game on March 13th. And then the good news is you most likely have Baylor after that. So I still don't necessarily see BYU winning the Big 12 tournament, but getting that double bye would be awesome and gives them better chances, definitely by far. So, all right. So 1-2 says, sorry here, guaranteed at worst a 5 seed in conference with 2 games to play with at Iowa State, the 4 seed. If Arizona loses, we have a chance at 3rd seed. Ooh, that's getting good. I hadn't even looked at that, honestly, because I did not think it was going to be very realistic. So I hadn't even been thinking 3rd seed. Now that would make things very interesting, because then you're on the other side of the bracket. Not that really you want to face any of these teams, but you think BYU, what they did against Texas Tech back, when they were struggling a little bit before things were clicking, think maybe there's a chance there. I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, a lot to still play for at this point, and it's going to make this game on Tuesday very, very exciting. So I love this. I love being in a conference, and not just any conference, with the big boys. This is so much more fun, so much more engaging. It's not just, a couple games against Gonzaga, maybe St. Mary's every year. This is so much fun, and I love it that BYU is peaking at the right time here in this season. So let's see. Cameron Huff says, "Yo, what's up, bro?" Did I get that right? I'm back after another dub. Well, thank you for joining us, and appreciate you in the chat and celebrating the win with us. I got to say, going back to Fous, just because it was so much fun, and I love seeing him in there. And that this wasn't a Kevin Young guy. He stuck around, never went to the portal. He probably isn't really the type of player that Kevin Young is really looking for in terms of bigs, based on what he said and his comments, but that they turned to him and he was just able to come up big time and again. It was just ridiculous. He was just a wrecking ball down there. I just look at the stats. So 20 points, which it could have been more. I mean, honestly, they started doing other things, getting other people involved, but even a couple assists off of it. I love it. When they play an inside out game, and then the 10 rebounds, some of them were off his own misses, but really love what he's doing. He's our best free throw shooter, career percentage wise. So, but anyway, the team as a whole, much better free throw shooting. But anyway, yeah. So, and I love the Fous chant, and I love that we could hear it when they were at Arizona, and that BYU just completely, or Arizona State, just BYU completely took over their stadium. And when Fous scored, and when Fous and the commentator thought they were booing, which reminded me back and hearing it just tonight, and it just kept getting louder and louder every time he scored. It was just awesome. But when I first got into BYU, off my mission, I don't really know. I didn't know all the players that well. We didn't have great YouTube shows like this one. No, I'm kidding. But all the content that was out there, and I didn't know the team real well. I'd gotten home and gone to my first game, and everyone was saying, I thought everyone was booing off of, I think it was a touchdown. And it was a very similar chant, but it was Fooey, and they were chanting much like Fous, and getting Fooey Vakapuna, and seeing him just bowl over guys. So I love that it's a thing, and it's just that one that everybody knows and gets into it. So it'll be sad to see Fous go, but I'm glad he had a huge game like this tonight. So all right. So 1-2 says the announcer said Fous is on pace to be the all-time highest field goal percentage in BYU team history. I thought he already had that. Maybe not. Maybe he's just on pace for it. But yeah, I mean, it helps when you're getting buckets like that down low all the time. But I mean, he just has such touch and a way he can move his body and throw guys around. And I know how frustrating it, because he does have a pretty long reach from what it looks like. I don't know if he has a longer than normal wingspan for someone his height, but reminds me, just this week I was playing basketball, church ball, and there's a guy I play with sometimes, and he's older than me, he's shorter than me, he's a little bit overweight, but he's just a smart player. He's so good, and he's so much broader than me. Like, I'm pretty tall, but he can just easily neutralize any height advantage I have just by being able to position himself and being able to push me off the block, whatever. And so watching, it was frustrating on Thursday, but tonight it was really fun to watch Fous do it to other guys who, by all accounts, should be able to handle him down low in the post. So you gotta love it, and everything he's done. Let's see. I had a couple other tweets I wanted to look at. Okay, we already touched upon this, but I'll go back to it real quick. Robbie McComb says, huge matchup Tuesday at Iowa State. BYU is one of the hottest teams in the country with 6 wins in a row. Iowa State has all their guys and is 19-1 when fully healthy. Lone loss was by 2 points to number 1 Auburn. So yeah, so they're clicking right now, and like I said, they just beat down Arizona tonight. Winner gets the 4 seed in the Big 12 tournament and double bye. So, and apparently potential number 3 seed too, depending how things shake out. So, but I mean, that's not a huge deal. But man, how satisfying would it be for BYU to go in there and beat Iowa State on their own floor with stakes like this on the line? Be fantastic. Also, it would certainly go a long way towards helping BYU seeding. We've already determined like BYU is in the tournament. We said barring any major disaster or just completely letting the wheels fall off the rest of the way. I just don't think there's enough for BYU to hurt their chances. Like, they're a lock at this point, because even a big loss at Iowa State I don't think really hurts BYU too much. And and then the Utah, that one wouldn't be great, but I think the resume, so even if BYU were to lose the last two games, I still think, they're still a lock. It's just at this point they're playing for seeding. And my big thing is I do not want to see BYU in that 8-9 seed matchup which kind of feels like at this point that's where they'll be. We've talked about this ad nauseum, but most likely if they get knocked, or if they, whatever seed that you feel like they should be, they'll most likely be dropped one because of the not playing on Sunday thing and getting them in the right region and everything. So it feels like if BYU wants to get out of that, they really got to get up to being a 6 seed, which seems like you really got to beat Iowa State here, beat Utah, and then do something good in the Big 12 tournament. Again, a lot of things can happen, but it feels like BYU's really got to show out here at the end of this season to get to that point. Otherwise, I'd be fine if they ended up a 9 seed and got bumped down to a 10. And then again, you're on the other side of the bracket. But because I wouldn't be worried about a 10-7 matchup for BYU. All right, I got a couple comments here. Anonymous Cards says already has it, just needs to keep it. Yeah, they're in. They're in. I don't see. Yeah, I just don't think there's enough left that would hurt BYU to make it out of the tournament. So I think BYU's locked up. At this point, it's just, continuing on the pace they're at. Okay, 1-2 says Joe Lenardi had BYU as a top 8 seed in NCAA tournament, 1 spot from 7 before tonight's game. Yeah, that should certainly boost them up. And obviously, some of the other teams around BYU could drop or move around a little bit. So there's still a lot to happen and a lot of seeding that'll happen over the next couple games. And so it's not all in BYU's court to be able to determine their outcome, but they certainly have a spot to do it, to keep moving up and for things to, to avoid that 8-9 matchup. So we'll see, but it does seem like that's the way it's going. Oh, sorry. Anonymous Card said, sorry, I meant Fouss's field goal percent record. Oh, it says he has it. He just needs to keep it. Yeah. I was gonna say, I thought he already had it. Sorry. I misunderstood that. Yeah. He, that was my understanding. And I can't remember. Let me know what his field goal percentage is, because I've heard it and I don't remember right now. Let's see here. I think that was it. I was a bit delayed in chat. All good. No, it was my problem. I didn't see the chats coming in live. So got another question. Is West Virginia even good? I don't know. I mean, it's really hard to say with any of these teams because, over the course of the season, they've certainly had, let's open up what they've got going here. Oh, I just wanted to see their schedule. I mean, BYU struggled against them in Morgantown. I mean, they've struggled as of late. Lost some close one to Baylor. Baylor's kind of another one that's on the fence. I mean, West Virginia was considered at one point, I think, pretty much, I don't know if they were a lock, but pretty strongly considered an NCAA tournament team. I don't know what their standing at this point is. In fact, the Big 12, everyone was saying 18, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, right now it looks like, I don't know if I see TCU getting in. If they're probably just on the bubble. Cincy, they were saying tonight they're kind of one of those first 4 out. I don't know if West Virginia's really got a realistic shot at this point. But yeah, I mean, they seem to have a really good defense. And as people were saying, was it Robbie McCombs, that it was the first time in Big 12 play this season that someone scored over 75 points against them. So, I mean, didn't look like they had the best offense, but certainly their defense is pretty good. But let's see here. I have a couple other comments. Oh, I was using my mouse up there like you guys could see my screen. Sorry about that. Charles Todd Barnum says, Cannon getting hurt sucks. Really does suck. as we were talking about earlier, I guess he ended up back on the bench in uniform later, so that is a good sign. Hopefully, he doesn't have to miss any serious time because of it, and he's able to come back and play. Looks like hyperextension. Yeah, it did not look great, but I guess we'll see. We will see. Hopefully, he's okay. Anonymous card says West Virginia's defense is great for sure. Good point. Yeah, where they stand, I don't know. They kind of remind me like a lot of teams in the Big 12 this season that they have some really good moments, and can go toe to toe with some really good teams, and all of a sudden have a confounding loss, and they're kind of all over the place. And maybe it's that way when your offense is that spotty and you just have defense that continually can keep you in games. BYU football says this win streak, they keep adding wins, is getting very impressive. That's right. Keep stacking days, right? That's what Coach Young says. Keep stacking them. It is very impressive. And it started with that West Virginia game. I mean, go back and think about it. The way BYU has figured this out, BYU had just gotten blown out at Cincinnati, and they were on this East Coast road trip, and then go to Morgantown. And I was like, oh, they've got to win at least one of these. That's what we were saying. Like for BYU to like keep their hopes alive of NCAA tournament really feels like they've got to win one of these games, and they just got blown out at Cincy, and it didn't look good. And during the game against West Virginia, it didn't look good the whole time there either, but they pulled out the win. And since then, something's clicked, and they figured some things out. Was the West Virginia game when they started playing I almost said Trey Young again, Trey Stewart and Boscovich, who, by the way, he has not been playing as much. Trey keeps getting some play, but Boscovich has not been always part of that same rotation. But I think it might have been that West Virginia game where they figured that out. And since then, this team has just really been rolling. Synthwave Spartan 2808. What a name. What a handle there. Woo, they has me in the first half, not gonna lie. Yeah, the first half I was worried because I listened to I listened today to the audio version of BYUSN from yesterday, and Spencer and Jason Shepard were on, and they were both talking like, oh yeah, this game's a lock. I don't see BYU losing this game. And I was worried when I listened to that. I was like, West Virginia is going to come in with an axe to grind with how the way the last game went. And at some point, BYU's offense is going to kind of come back down to reality, and just then start seeing that happen in the first half. I was getting nervous. But the second half, pretty quickly, BYU erased any doubt on that. So I don't know, what adjustments they made, or if it was just, finally being able to get comfortable with the defense that West Virginia was playing. But it was pretty awesome to see him just flip like that and not let the opponent stick around, kind of like they did against Arizona State. Not that I ever felt like Arizona State was ever a real threat to win that game, but it's nice to be able to see a BYU team have that killer instinct and just completely pull away. I mean, I think of games last year where it was like Texas Tech, where BYU was up by, I don't know, at least 15. I don't remember if they got up to 20, and then Tech ended up coming back and winning that game. So it's nice to see BYU just like keep piling it on, and no mercy, really. Anonymous card says West Virginia was where we first saw the significant Trey Bosco minutes. Yeah, okay, I thought so. Yeah, they put that in. They were so desperate for anything, and they came in and they really brought a spark to the team, and so pretty awesome. The Trey Stewart has been so fun to watch. Yeah, I love it. He's another one of those kind of fan favorite guys who you want to see him succeed. Last year, there was not a lot of depth at point guard, and so it felt like they were kind of putting him in when they needed more ball handling, and there were times he'd get pressured, or was probably out of his depth. But with the offense the way it is now, and so many ball handlers, and he's not like he'll handle the ball a little bit and play a little bit point, but he's free to be kind of an off ball shooter and kind of a corner three guy, 3-and-D sort of dude. And because he knows he's only getting like 8 minutes a game, he can go out there and just hustle and get at guys. And I love it. So, yeah, great to see him getting minutes and being in the game and making an impact too. I had another thought here and it's escaped me, but that's all right. One thing, I did see one tweet earlier today, and I want to put that up to people. This was a Royal Coug or at Royal Coug on Twitter, and he says that West Virginia is his second favorite team in the Big 12. Anyone else have a second team you root for? I'm kind of curious what other people like. West Virginia is a team I like, partially because they are, I've been in Virginia, so I'm kind of close. And so maybe the one Big 12 team that's kind of in the vicinity. And for the most part, West Virginia fans I come in contact with, it maybe doesn't fit the reputation, but they've all been pretty great and fun to interact with. So I do like West Virginia. I like K-State and Baylor, depending on the teams and the time, but the sport really and what's going on. But yeah, kind of curious what everybody else thinks in terms of other Big 12 teams that they like and support, or if anybody. I mean, maybe it's just Cougs, but it is fun to have kind of some teams I like. I already mentioned Iowa State, how I've kind of, for maybe no real reason other than they didn't like BYU, I've chosen to hate them a little bit. But yeah, again, it's fun being in a conference. Let's see here. Anonymous Card says, I've been watching some Kentucky, but it feels wrong. I actually have. I've not watched full games, but I'll pop in and watch, 10, 15, 20 minutes sometimes, and just kind of curious to see what Coach Pope is doing with that team, and to see our boy Jackson Robinson over there and what he does, which turns out he's going to have surgery. So he's been injured, and I guess he's going to have surgery. And so he's done for the season, which really sucks because this is his real final season now. And I don't know how that's going to set him up for the draft and all that, which I know he was on the fence last year. And so if he's not able to, if that hurts his draft stock, that really sucks. He went back, took a chance on himself, and I think he did. I think he was doing pretty well at Kentucky, and and obviously when you're playing it for a program like that, in a lot of those high state games, that you're going to get more of the spotlight on you, and I think that's what he was going for. And so, I still have mixed feelings about Mark Pope and how to root for him. I don't really make a habit of rooting for blue blood teams that aren't teams that I have connections to. And so, but when you're playing teams like Alabama, it's easy to root against Alabama and stuff. So I don't know. I don't know. I did want to see Jackson Robinson do well. I'd love for him to still end up in the NBA. Still feel some attachment to him. I know his attachment was really Mark Pope more so than BYU, but I still like Jackson Robinson. Let's see. 1-2 says Jackson Robinson out for the season, should have stayed at BYU. LOL. It would have been really fun to watch him play in this offense with this team, but obviously it would have been a different makeup. I wonder how that would have impacted Richie Saunders' development and things, and what that would have done, obviously playing a different role. So, it seemed to work out for everybody. It was one of those situations that kind of everyone ended up on top. So, Anonymous Card says, amen. Gotta love and respect Jax for all he did here. Yeah. He was a great player. He was a lot of fun, and it was good to see him go on and continue to have some success. It really sucks that he's injured, because I don't know. I think if he's having surgery now, it's ending his season. I don't know if that's going to give him time to come back and really be involved in the draft conversation, unless he's just hoping, he's put enough film on tape or enough, tape out there to, make its case for him. And I don't know. So I don't know how that's going to go for him, but wish him the best, and as well as Catchings, man, who kind of has a similar frame to Jackson Robinson, both pretty long, rangy guys, and similar players in some regard. So anyway, well, oh boy, it is. This went on far longer than I thought it was going to, because I didn't know if there was as much to talk about tonight, but certainly appreciate everyone hopping on the video, watching, and all of you who hopped in the chat. Appreciate the comments. That's what makes all of this fun. So I'm not just talking at myself, but interacting with you all. So appreciate it. We will be back here on Tuesday, regardless of the outcome of that game, which we fully anticipate a win from BYU. But so be sure to come back and join us for that one. And until then, go Cougs.